Let's talk to Ricardo Evangelista. He is from ActivTrades. Very good morning to you, Ricardo.
Good morning.
I hesitated then because I think I pronounced your surname correctly for a change. Boom, boom. Right, let's get some serious stuff underway. Let's talk about Italy. What on earth is going on there?
Yes, some turbulence in the markets globally felt. All of this because of what's going on in Italy. We had an election back in March, and there was no clear winner from that election, but the two parties that emerged as the strongest were two populist or so-called populist parties, the Five Star movement, which is an anti-establishment party, and the Lega, the former Lega Nord, and the Lega is, could be classified by some as a far-right party. So both of these are strongly anti-European and anti-Euro, and throughout all the negotiations that preceded the current situation, they were able to somehow come together, even though on paper they are the most unlikely partners one can imagine. But that dislike for Europe and the Euro brought them together, and also other points like anti-immigration, etc. Well, the result of this is that they finally got to an agreement, decided to form government, and President Mattarella then stopped the train on its tracks by saying that he would not accept a finance minister who has a strong anti-Euro and anti-European agenda, someone who said in the past that if he ever got into a position of doing so, he would get rid of the Euro, or rather take Italy out of the Euro. So with this position taken by President Mattarella, the whole thing came to an halt. The markets got extremely spooked, because the logical consequence is that an election may have to be called. And a new election would in fact be an unofficial referendum on Euro membership and even European Union membership. And with Italy being the third strongest economy of the Eurozone, its departure from Euro would, in the opinion of many people, lead to the end of the Euro. So markets got extremely spooked by this. We saw the Euro tumbling down. We saw, everywhere, all sorts of repercussions, yen going up. We saw the yields in American treasuries coming down because of demand. So all safe haven assets registered strong demand, and everything else was risk off. Today, we're seeing that the Euro seems to have recovered because these two movements, the Five Star and the Lega, decided that they would somehow accommodate President Mattarella decision and try to still form a government, because in the meantime he had indicted someone else to form a government who is just a bureaucrat. So this is the situation at the moment. It will be interesting to follow. I don't think we're done with Italy yet.
Right.
And some more interesting points to come in the near future, I think.
Okay, so in terms of euro-dollar, we had some people come on and say they thought this was a short yesterday, and obviously it snapped back. What are you thinking on the euro-dollar short term?
Well, we have to look at the dollar as well, not just at the euro. So we know that for the time being, the spreads on Italian treasuries, for example, and other southern European treasuries as well, are recovering. In the sense of from easing off pressure from having achieved yearly highs on Tuesday and Wednesday. Tuesday. And the euro as well is recovering, but we have to look at the other side of the equation as well, which is the dollar. What's going on in America? So we have a situation in America. Today we'll have a little bit of clarity, if any is needed, with the publication of some figures. We have the Beige Book figures, which gives information about the economy at large, some anecdotal information. But everybody is pretty much agreed on the point that we will have an interest rate rise in June. and more likely than not, only one more after that. So three
Three,
this
not
year,
four this year.
not four. So, but that's already priced in the dollar. But it will be interesting to see what happens with the so-called negotiations. They don't really fit the normal definition of negotiations, because it's sort of a hot and cold attitude from the American side that is now triggering a more belligerent attitude as well from the Chinese, for example, saying that they are ready for a conflict should the Americans want it.
Yep.
Yesterday we had Justin Trudeau, the Canadian president, saying that no NAFTA is better. The North American
Free trade.
No NAFTA is better than a bad agreement. So I think the American stance is sort of triggering a similar attitude on their partners or potential business partners. So it will be interesting to see how all of that unfolds. But definitely, we have to look at Europe, and the European Central Bank finds itself between the sword and the wall, as we say, because on the one hand, inflation seems to be finally recovering to a place closer to where everybody wants it to be. But on the other hand, we still have the instability, the political instability, and the perceived fragility of the euro, very susceptible to political turbulence, like we've just seen. And also we have other countries within the eurozone that can suffer as collateral damage from all of this. So we saw that Spain as well, and they're having a political crisis of their own, with Prime Minister Rajoy facing a possible, being being pushed out because he's somehow involved in corruption, political financing corruption, and favoring some people in exchange for funding for the party. So we have to look out for this. We also have Greece. I would say that in the medium to long term, probably most analysts are right that the euro still has some ground to lose.
Mm. Okay, let's wrap up with crude. We're sort of, I think, 4% off the highs, thereabouts. Okay, is the bull move finally over?
I would probably agree with some people that say no. This is a short-term change in the dynamic that preceded it, because, as you know, Nick, stocks seem to have been higher than most expected. Also, Saudi Arabia and Russia came out and said that should there be any shortfalls in the market, we will make up for those by increasing our output.
Yep.
So this sort of eased the speed at which oil prices were climbing. But I think that with Saudi Arabia having, and they are the de facto leaders of OPEC, and they really pull most of the strings there, with Saudi Arabia having a target of $80 per barrel, don't forget that they'll have the floating of Aramco. So there's a lot of interest behind this target being achieved. I would probably agree with most analysts and say that it is quite likely that we'll see further rise in the prices of oil.
Okay, on that note, we've run out of time, Ricardo. Good to see you.
Thank you.